What's up everyone and welcome to the channel. I am Clay and today I've got some new Joy-Con that we're going to take a look at that's going to make your Switch feel, you guessed it, not so small. Sometime long ago, I put out a video discussing the Hori Split Pad Pro Joy-Con and how they are a solid alternative to the official Joy-Con, even though they have a few drawbacks, such as the lack of any rumble whatsoever, gyro, and even the ability to be used independently from the Switch, yet they'll still run you nearly $50 or more when they're not on sale. It's those little nitpicks that bring us to today's video. What do you get when you take an official Nintendo Joy-Con and combine it with the Hori Split Pad Pro? Simple, you get these Bin-Bok Joy-Con with an LED ring around the sticks, of course. So let's take a deeper look at these things. The Bin-Bok Joy-Con aim to take the best features of Nintendo's official Joy-Con, combining those with the additional features the Hori Split Pad Pro offers, and give you what may just be the answer to your Joy-Con woes. Like I mentioned earlier, the biggest drawbacks that the Hori pads face are the lack of rumble and gyro, along with the ability to use them separate from the Switch. These offer all of that at a very similar price point. I'll start with those main differences first because while yes, Bin-Bok managed to implement them in their Joy-Con, I'm sure you're wondering if they did it well and not just haphazardly and it sucks. So first off, we'll start with that rumble. Unlike other third-party unofficial controllers, the rumble in these Joy-Con is very subdued. It's not over the top, in your face, rattle the posters off your wall and wake your family loud, but it's also not so weak and quiet, you can't tell it's on. Honestly, it has just the right amount of feedback for my personal taste when playing games that do utilize rumble as a cue to what's happening on the screen, such as Mario Odyssey or Luigi's Mansion. This may not be your HD rumble from the official Nintendo Joy-Con, but come on, other than that Ice Cube counting minigame from 1-2 Switch, when has that ever made a real difference? All in all, the rumble is exactly what it should be, there when you need it and not overly annoying when you don't. It is nice to play in handheld mode again and actually have rumble back. Sorry Hori, try harder next time. To be quite honest, I am not a fan of motion controls, but I know that some people are, so this is going to be a big deal for some of you. Now, for those of you that are gyro fans, not only do the Bin-Bok Joy-Con include gyro, but it works surprisingly well. They call it 6-axis gyro to make it sound fancier than it really is, but at the end of the day, these Joy-Con give you reliable motion controls when connected to the Switch or being used separately. I'm not the one to expertly judge the accuracy of the motion, but playing it here in Splatoon seemed to work pretty well. At least better than the Hori pads. This next one is actually a pretty big deal for me. The one thing that I wanted from the Hori Split Pad Pro was to be able to use them off of the Switch independently, kind of like their own controller, and Bin-Bok delivers on this front. They even include a little attachment to slide them in to make them even more like its own controller, similar to the Joy-Con grip. One thing you definitely need to know that I learned the hard way is that when you do have them separated, in order to turn them on, you need to press the screenshot and or the home button respectively while the system is already on. Because like most third-party controllers, these cannot wake the Switch up while they're detached. And everything still functions as it should this way. Your turbo and programmable buttons that we'll talk about here shortly, gyro, rumble, all of it. Still works perfectly. Each Joy-Con is individually battery powered and can be charged independently via a USB-C cable. It is also worth noting that the Switch can still be docked with these attached to charge them that way. And if you happen to have one of those Joy-Con chargers, you can use that too. All in all, when you take these away from the Switch and turn them into their own controller, it actually feels pretty nice. It's large, but that's fine, especially for me. It still feels good, albeit it's a little lightweight. So now that we've got all of the features that Bin-Bok has that Hori doesn't, let's take a look at the rest of the controller and see how it compares quality-wise. These Joy-Con, unlike the Hori Split Pad Pros, use plastic for all of their buttons. There are no mushy, soft rubber buttons to be found, and each one has a very nice feel to it when pressed. Especially the smaller functional buttons like screenshot, home, plus and minus, these have an incredibly satisfying click to them. As for the D-pad, it's fine. It's nothing like an 8-bit DOE D-pad, but I would put it on par with Hori's. That said, it's pretty good. It's not the greatest, but certainly far from the worst out there. Moving around to the back of the controller, we have two tiny little buttons marked M and T. One is for your turbo functionality, and the other is to program that button that's on the back of the controller. Like other controllers with turbo features, to activate it, you simply press and hold the T button, then press the button you want the function applied to. Now when you press and hold that particular button on the controller, it will act as though you are constantly pressing it. And if you're feeling overly lazy, you can always hold the T button again, press the same button to have the controller press it for you without you actually having to touch anything. To cancel turbo feature altogether, repeat these steps one more time. Now, if you want to program the additional trigger on the back, it is just as simple. You press and hold the M button while selecting which other button you want mapped, and you're golden. It will function just like the regular button press. And to unmap it, press and hold M until the controller vibrates. Dead simple. One thing to note here is that these can only be mapped to buttons on that particular Joy-Con, meaning you can't map the button on your left Joy-Con to the A, B, X, or Y on your right Joy-Con. And here's something that I really need to mention, but personally I find this completely useless with these Joy-Con, is that they can be used individually as their own single controller. Unlike Hori, who added the faux lights and SL and SR buttons to the railing of their split pads, which is kind of silly, Bin-Bok actually makes them functional. These are fully playable as single Joy-Con, but are incredibly uncomfortable and inconvenient to do so. It's clear these were created with handheld mode in mind or being used on the included adapter. If you're in a pinch and you absolutely need an extra controller, sure, I guess these will work, but do you really want that? I don't want that for you. In this current age of gaming, are you truly a gamer if whatever you're using doesn't have RGB in it? The real answer is yes, not everything needs RGB. But that didn't stop Bin-Bok from including it in the ring around the joystick. Honestly, I don't really mind it here. It's a nice form of customization since you can choose from about 8 different colors or so and have it slowly breathe through each one if you choose that option. You can also set them independently of each other, and all you have to do is press and hold the T button on the back while clicking in the appropriate stick to cycle through the colors. I'm sure it's no surprise that I typically stick with either both of them red or one blue and one red. At the time of recording this, I have been using these Joy-Con for roughly a little over a month. And when I first found these on Amazon, I definitely thought that they were going to be some cheap knockoff that I would throw away as soon as I tried them out once or twice. And to my surprise, they have surpassed all of my expectations. They offer the same great feeling and features of the Hori pad for around the same price of $49.99, while also including gyro, rumble, and the ability to be used off of the Switch as their own controller. I love the overall feel in the hand because they have this nice little textured plastic to help keep the grip, and even the tiny fact that the bottom is flat, so you can easily set your Switch upright with them still attached. Playing in handheld mode is as comfortable with these as any other solution. The Hori pad, the Satisfy grip, anything like that, these will compare wonderfully to. And that's that. I would absolutely recommend these for anyone looking for new replacement Joy-Con who don't want to deal with the tiny, overpriced, prone to drift official Joy-Con that Nintendo provides. And that does make me wonder, how do you play your Switch? Handheld or docked? And also, what controller do you prefer? Do you like the Joy-Con? Do you want something bigger? Do you play with the Joy-Con grip, Pro controller? What? I'd love to know. Down there in that comment section below the like button, let me know how you like to play your Switch and with what controller. Also, please, if you enjoyed this video, consider doing what this little fancy graphic is asking you to do. I didn't spend hours creating and designing this just so you could ignore it. And until next time, take care everyone.